Tell me, would you give your life for that idea? Of course. I say, my breath very tight in my chest. Of course. His voice is so low. Too low. I recognize that tone of voice. He lifts up the knife and presses the blade to my cheek. Any witch would do the same thing. You wouldn't be the last, and you certainly not the first. But then as a Muggle-born, you know that better than most, wouldn't you? I frown at him. What are you talking about? His smile flickers. I'm talking about the persecutions that my ancestors suffered at the hands of yours. I'll say one thing for Muggles, stupid as they may be, they are certainly inventive when it comes to the delicate art of murder. They had quite a selection of torturous methods, which they could use to dispose of witches and wizards. I imagine it quite a game for them, which techniques they would choose this time. Drowning, some strangulation, the noose, or the fire. I swallow. They were different times. I can't be blamed for what my ancestors may have done to yours in their ignorance. That's neither here nor there. He snaps, his smile disappearing utterly. The fact remains that in their stupidity, the ignorance and pride, Muggles such as your filthy parents sent thousands of witches and wizards to their agonizing deaths. And you then have the nerve to pollute our society with your offspring a few generations down the line. Tell me, do you know how long it takes to burn to death? Have you ever smelt burning flesh? My mouth is numb and dry. I can't speak. I just shudder in dumb terror. The knife's about to tear my skin, I swear to God. They thought they were saving them, is what I say eventually. They were uninformed back then. They didn't know any better. Their religion told them that the only way to save their soul of a witch was to burn them alive, and yes, they were wrong, but they genuinely believed it. Oh, and I'm sure the victims were so grateful with their legs burned away underneath them. He drawls in vicious triumph. I'm sure they thought only of their murderers' good intentions. They begged their families to pile tinder on their pines so they may die quicker. I glare at him, hating him. Don't you dare use real human suffering as a cheap way to prove a point to me. I'll do whatever I like. I'm sure they wouldn't blame me. It wasn't my ancestors that burned them, was it? He fires back. I take a second to get my breath back. My heartbeat is roaring in my ears. What do you want from me? Do you want me to burn alive too? So you can prove my self-belief to you? So that I can prove my self-belief to you? He raises his eyebrow. Would you do it? For a moment I'm speechless in utter disbelief. He smiles. Well, perhaps the burning example is a little extreme. He runs the blade of the knife slowly down my cheek. The pressure is light on my skin, not strong enough to cut or even hurt, but calculated just to tingle as it skims over my skin. Almost not touching. Almost. But would you be willing to die for the absurd notion that you might be a witch? If there were to be a painless death, would you do it? To die for one's belief? The ultimate act of nobility. Every Gryffindor's fantasy, I imagine. I don't answer him, because he doesn't expect me to. and because my breath was caught in my throat, and I don't know whether I could even if I tried. I feel the blade run down over my collarbone. Do you not fear death, then, my blood? I swallow sharply. The knife shakes over the furious slamming of my heartbeat. Everyone dies. My voice wavers in the air with absolutely no certainty at all. Indeed. He's smirking at me. Who knows better than I? I've been willing to give my life for what I believe in since I was old enough to talk. But I wonder, are you really prepared to do the same? Or is it really you who is the coward here? I curl my fingers. He curls his fingers around my wrist, bringing it up between us. He takes the knife away from my chest, trapping it between his thumb and his palm as he runs his fingers over my hands, trailing them delicately over my skin, the burn scar, and the bruises around my fingers. His poor little hand has been through so much since we first met, he murmurs. It almost breaks my heart to call it your palm. But you will insist on pushing me too far. I realize too late that he's going to do what he's going to do as he presses the knife vertically against my wrist, tearing the skin, opening it, and blood spills out of the wound and down my wrist. I give a tiny yell of pain, and he draws the blade down the delicate blue vein, and it hurts. Oh, like nothing on earth, it hurts, and there's blood, too much blood, too much. Blood runs red and warm over my wrist. Perhaps I could, yes, press down on the wound and grip it and stop the blood, the endless blood. What do you want? What do you want from me? I want you to admit what you are, he drawls, not caring, never caring. I could die and he wouldn't care. Say it. You know what he wants. Just say it. I won't say it. I'm a witch! His eyes flash with anger as he reaches my other hand towards him. Whoopsie daisies. I went too far. Drawing the blade down the other vein, digging deep this time, ripping into flesh, gouging into it. Hurts doesn't even describe this. They need a whole new dictionary to describe this. You'll die unless you admit what you are, and despite your protestations, I don't believe you're quite willing to go that far. So admit it. Tell me what you are. I don't want to die. That thought pierces through everything else. I don't want to die. I know they'll kill me in the end. But while I'm alive, I've still got hope. And that is worth everything. Besides, it doesn't matter. Not really. Just to say it won't make it true, will it? Will it? My blood. I whimper the words out, holding my wrists together to stop the blood flow. He smiles widely at that, and prizes my arms apart so that the blood runs free and unhindered down my arms. And what else, Miss Granger? What else? I've got to go further. Give him what he wants. What else does he call me? A throwback. A freak. A muggle masquerading as a witch. He smiles all the wider. An evil grin like none I've ever seen before. And he picks up each of my wrists, and oh my god, even to move them feels like hell itself. And then that wonderful, warm, golden glow of healing beams from his wand to my wrist, and the blood flow stops. But the scars remain. Thick pink scars down the veins of my wrist. I think we'll leave those. He runs his fingers lightly along one of the scars. Oh shit, that's like an hour. Fuck. Let me tell you what I will never be doing again. Letting a recording go for an entire hour. I had to like make a movie out of the thing, and then cut it in half, and then make another movie out of the other half, and then download it onto Real Player, and then cut that in half. No, turn it into just the audio again, because you can't just cut the audio for some reason, and then cut that into pieces, and then I accidentally cut that first half in two correctly, and then for some reason I put part 2 for the part 2, so I took the part 2 that I'd already made and cut part 2 in half, so I had 4 parts, 3 of which equaled out to be 1/2 of a half of a half, so it's like a fourth. Not scratch one of those halves. Anyways, it was totally freaking ridiculous. It took me like 3 hours on and off because I wasn't really doing anything else, but I was doing other stuff and I wasn't really, actively doing it, but I mean, holy crap. So, yeah. Because, I got it, I cut it in half, and then I still couldn't send it out because it was over 25. Like, one of them was, 25.1, and then the one was, 26 something, and I was like, shit, I just cut it in half for no reason. I did all of that work, and if I would have just cut it into fourths, I would not have had to do all that crap. Or, half of it, and then I had to do the other half, because I didn't realize that I had perfectly cut them in 2 halves that could both not be actually used for anything. So, yeah. Story of my goddamn life. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna put this in as part 5, even though it has nothing to do with anything, and it's just me ranting. So yeah. He runs his fingers lightly along the scars before he drops my hand. I think a nice reminder for you. A nice little reminder for you. Should you ever forget your place again, now? Bastard. What are people gonna think when they see these scars? He looks deep into my eyes. An invisible hand of legitimacy probes around in my mind again, very briefly before it withdraws. Did I hear that correctly? He smiles then. A smile that doesn't reach those cold, icy cold eyes. Who exactly do you think is going to see these scars? Who are you afraid of obsessing? You're never going to get out of here. That smile never leaves his face as he wrenches me close to him suddenly by the hair, locking his eyes into mine, and too close, far too close, holding the bloody knife up to my cheek. You're going to die here. Don't you remember? I'm going to die here in this house that belongs to Bellatrix's parents, here in this cave, under the hill on the lake, and Ron will die along with me, and it's all my fault. No one's coming to save us, and nothing can help us. I feel myself rip in half down the middle, and fuck it, I just want it to be over. Then what are you waiting for? I grab the hand holding the knife and rush it down to my chest. Why don't you just kill me? Right here. Right now. That's what you want, isn't it?